Donc, on est présentement à Messine pour notre deuxième collaboration avec Minwashin. On a fait une collaboration avec eux en octobre 2022.
Fait qu'on a fait un premier projet qui s'appelait Nogom, justement pour faire résonner les chants autochtones, anicinabe. On a jasé beaucoup avec un artiste musicien, Emilio Wawatie. Évidemment, on a réfléchi à la question de refaire un deuxième album qui a donné celui-ci, Nogom Nikamowin.
The concept of the album, originally they were thinking about doing 7 robes for the 7 grandfather teachings. We felt a little distant from the 7 grandfather teachings. It's not that we don't follow those or anything like that. The 6 seasons resonate more with our nation as Algonquin and Anishinaabe because of the connection that a lot of our people still have with the land. Within all that, I found like the direction that I had wanted to go and trying to find old songs, old transcriptions, and old recordings, and so I had to figure out what I can do to truly absorb and process the information of what is Anishinaabe music and what can be Anishinaabe music. And so following up with this, I went with the idea of weshkuch, meaning music from back then or that's already been made, with the idea of nogom, which is today or contemporary, and to come up with new songs with today's voices and the support of the elders and this whole intergenerational connected process of co-creation and co-collaboration. We had put a call out, for musicians and singers, and my cousin Leila, she saw, of course, she's my cousin, but she saw it and she's been getting more into performing and, she wanted to apply, so I told her do it.
I knew since I was a kid that I wanted to be a musician or, a singer. I noticed that it was actually a really good opportunity for me to do, and I'm just glad, I did, and I went through with it, and I'm here.
I've been doing music since I was really young, and I went to a music school. I went to Face School in Montreal. Emilio posted something on his story about Minwashin and this project, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. I'm Anishinaabe and I sing. So I was like, oh, I want to reach out, and so I reached out to him, and then, yeah, that's how it started.
So we discussed a bit last night of what we'll be doing today. We need to get through all the songs, all the ideas, and then we're going to record them just to get a general idea of where we're going to be going. So let's try to find also transition that would go from song to song. J'essaie un peu de voir qu'est-ce qui se passe dans la tête d'Emilio pour pouvoir remettre ça en instrument et en arrangement, en refaisant du sampling, en faisant du looping, en prenant ces structures-là, en prenant ces textes, les mélodies, on vire ça aussi en chants traditionnels qui vont servir de transition entre les chansons pendant tout le long de l'album.
We worked with the elders in a way where we wrote down words or ideas in French or English. And instead of asking the elders to completely translate the word, we asked them, what is the phrase or the idea that's associated with these actions and what you do in the bush during this season?
On a été saison par saison, en commençant par l'hiver, le printemps, le pré-été, l'été, l'automne, pour finir avec le pré-hiver.
Le but, c'est d'écrire en Anishinaabe en premier. Donc, on parle en français, en anglais, on brainstorm. Fait que c'est pour ça un peu qu'on voulait avoir ton expertise pour corriger un peu ou peut-être avoir d'autres suggestions.
When I originally wrote this out, I just wrote ideas to try and get things going. I'll probably just keep those 2 phrases, the 2 different repetitions as a chorus, and we keep things simple.
Dans les bouts, peut-être tu peux le laisser là, tout dépendant de ta tune. If it doesn't sound good in your song, maybe you could say ta gigabois.
Oui. Évidemment, Emilio a décidé d'utiliser plusieurs dialectes parce que chez nous, chez les Anishinaabe, on a plusieurs dialectes. Fait que on en a pris 3, ceux évidemment qui sont disponibles, dont moi-même, Charlie Penasway, puis Emilio, qui ont eux aussi leur façon de parler d'Anishinaabe.
Ça fait un changement de ma vie un petit peu parce que là, j'ai dit,
J'ai fait ce que j'aime. J'aime ce que je fais aujourd'hui.
Once a story started to form roughly with the phrases, then I was like, okay, and then this is what we could use in repetition, because we're trying to make these songs accessible for non-speakers. We're trying to make the music so that people that don't have access to the speakers and in their communities anymore or in their families, that they could hear these words. So today we have Fabienne that came in from Moniac. She came in to add some vocals, some textures, as well as to fill in some of the traditional style singing transitions. So for Pibon being like, you know, mid dead of winter, it's the first song of the album. So like what they talk about is hearing the sound of the fire breathing when you're, you know, you got to keep warm in your lodge, and having the strong fire and it burning, and then the sound of the winds and how the wind in the middle of the cold night will sound like a wolf.
And Charlie was actually telling a story about once one winter he fell through the ice.
Avec un de mes amis, quand j'ai tombé sur la glace, là, puis on s'en venait, puis le skido il a stallé. Moi je savais pas qu'il y avait, comment dire ça, juste une petite glace. Puis là j'ai tombé dans l'eau.
He got out and he had to keep running so he wouldn't freeze.
Là j'ai dit, faut pas que j'arrête nulle part, faut que j'emballe là et par là.
That's where the idea came from, is Majin, like move.
Majin, Mojik. Egua machi macho wijien.
In the second verse, we talk about the balsam that's laid down on the flooring of the teepee, or, you know, the lodge, or whatever type of lodge they were staying in, and then dreaming about the stars and the moonlight. And so there's the idea of like the representation of being grounded, but then still kind of like thinking out into the stars, into the sky and everything. And so that was the idea for the first one. Sigwin means spring, and so it's the second season in succession for the Anishinaabe worldview of the cycle of Mother Earth, I guess you could say. So for Sigwin, the springtime, the idea that it's an A minor, and then it goes F, and then G, and then there's a little chromatic raise with the E7.
So you did this, right? And then we'll do this part.
So for Sigwin, it's more about the idea of everything kind of melting, the water running, especially after a cold winter, everything's frozen and stuff, and spring we start to see everything starting to kind of run. There's like drips of water and the different sounds of water on the lake. That was the main and major influence of Sigwin, because it's a time where everything started to transition. What Menukamin means is that it's a time where everything starts to blossom. The general idea I want to talk about is in relation to everything that happens at that time, all the animals and the fish that lay their eggs or they have their babies, and so there's all these aspects that come into the balance of life. It also talks about the work that's being done by an Anishinaabe when they're getting ready for the summer. They're also preparing their canoe to start hitting the water, to the meeting places and to travel. It's that transition from when like the ice completely melts, and when the lakes really open up too, there's no more ice. We had the honor to bringing in Lyle Odjick, shredding up the blues harmonica. Came in here to fill in, some of the things that needed a little seasoning. Not that it wasn't seasoned. A little bit more never hurts. We're working on the 4th song, the idea for the summer, and it's summertime where people get together and then people celebrate, and a lot of the weddings and whatnot happen, and so ceremonies, and so that's pretty much what it's about. And it's the whole concept of the Outaouais is like, all right, come on, let's go. We're gonna be on the move. At the end of it, we add a little bit of a swing to it, where there's a little bit of a shuffle, and it kind of represents at the end of all that, where you're like all the dancing and all the singing, and it's like late, you're sore, like kind of got like a little bit of a limp in your leg. It's like, Tugwagan is the fall, after summer, between the start of winter, when all the colors on the leaves and everything start to change, and we're moving again into another transition back into the colder part of the year. It was like, why don't we include Charlie in this way and him do his style, where he tells a story with an accompaniment without singing a melody. We brought in my aunt Robin Decontie, who's a traditional singer. She's been singing powwow as a backup singer for the big drum for well over 40 years. I hear Grandma when I hear you. The last song, Pitci Pipon, it's the start of winter, when the trees, all the leaves kind of go down and all the, it's gray and stuff. The idea for the chorus, which is kind of what we built everything around, was it's getting dark and everything, right? But you want to get the kids to listen, and this is when you start to do the winter education, right? And so to tell them to calm down, sit down by the fire, and like we're gonna tell you some stuff. We're gonna tell you some stories.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Sorry, it really hit me in the field. It's to see something like come to life.
Yeah.
It's new Anishinaabe music, you know, and it's like trying to get the kids on it, the youth, you know what I mean, like, and to hear my cousin, she's like the youngest of my aunt's kids, and so it's like she's the musical one. I started the planning process like a month and a half ago, and then the call out came up and people came in and came out, you know what I mean, and then at the end of it was the two of yous. But I think there was really a reason the two of yous needed to meet too. You just click really well musically, and so.
What's cool is that literally like all it takes is just like an open mind, which I really like.
And collabing with other open minds.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm actually doing something that I like, and like doing something that I like and I enjoy, and I'm like, now I have something to look forward to, and like we're gonna be able to like perform this. It was crazy because like this is probably the first time I actually collabed with someone, and she's just so like easy to work with, and our voices are kind of similar. And coming here and doing this project just opened my mind back up. Like it just made me realize how much I actually really do love music, and I want to be able to create more.
Les jeunes qui sont là sont inspirés, puis ils veulent le parler la langue, puis un des moyens intéressants puis qui est inspirant, c'est évidemment la musique.
J'aime ça les écouter. C'est fun d'aller voir travailler, puis ils veulent vraiment leur faire de quoi pour les autres. Je pense qu'ils sont conscientes que la langue, c'est quelque chose.
Like Charlie and Roger, and like they compliment me for my singing, because I downplay myself a lot, and just hearing those words from an elder especially is like it's very heartwarming.
Working with the crew in general, it really helps you see and appreciate, this is actually really good. To see Simo's reaction too as we're going through things, he's like, as if I see him like having a good time and like, vibing, I know we're on the right track.
Un album comme ça, c'est que ça vient vraiment faire une empreinte sur la langue Anishinaabe. Fait que je trouve ça vraiment fun que le monde des communautés puisse écouter cet album-là puis s'en servir un peu comme référence.
On s'est questionné là-dessus beaucoup pour continuer à parler l'algonquin, pour pas oublier l'algonquin, là, tout ça. Là.
Everything I've been doing for as long as I can remember has always been tied to all this culture, language. The reality is like if we're not going to sing in Anishinaabe, no one's going to be speaking it anymore, and in a very near future, right? It's up to us. We got to do it.
It's important for me to learn more about Anishinaabe and my culture. This is like a really good first step into that because I love making music, and I want to learn Anishinaabe.
I'm just very, very fortunate, not just for the outcome of this project, but for the sake of like the youth, to be a good example.
Ce qui est important, c'est l'engagement, puis aussi la patience d'arriver à un but là, qui est commun. C'est justement dans ce cas-ci, faire résonner de la musique, là, une nouvelle musique là, qui est cool.